land of the rising sun, a story hunter is born. Born to be a fighter, but not in physical prowess, but of intellectual creativity. He was born from a long line of ancient guards in the royal family, known as a samurai. The story hunter would show us the world through his eyes and help spark the way to many wonderful stories yet to come. He was born in Tokyo, Japan, son of Osamu and Shima, the youngest child of 8. The young boy would honor his family and embark on a life full of wonder, suffering, love, and strife and grief. The young boy inspired and supported as he ventures into the entertainment industry. He would soon change the world with his stories. His name, Akira Kurosawa. Akira would show us how to persevere, survive, and make pictures of art through his films and creations. He became a perfectionist when it came to his films, which would later become his fatal flaw. Akira always had a passion for creating films or things when he was a kid, painting first and later to filmmaking, and was encouraged by his son. The Kurosawa bloodline came from a long line of samurai warriors. Samurai were no longer in use since the feudal era. The Osamu kept the tradition alive, however, by training youths and others in the way of the samurai. During his sessions, he taught his children and appointed Akira as captain of the squad. Shima came from the Meiji era, where Japan was being modernized, but still kept some of the old traditions, especially women are expected to sacrifice for their sons and husbands so that they can be successful. Shima was strong and a loving mother. She stood proud of her family and supported their life's choices. In an interview with Akira about his mother, he has this to say: "During the year there was a popular song called Father, You Are Strong. But I want to say, Mother, you are strong. My mother's strength lay particularly in her endurance." He then told an example of her character. She was deep frying tempura in the kitchen one day. The oil in the pot caught fire. Before it could ignite anything else, she proceeded to pick up the pot with both hands, while her eyebrows and eyelashes were singed to painful crisps. Walk calmly across the tatami mat, properly put on her clogs, and carry the flaming pot out to the center of the garden to set it down. Afterward, the doctor arrived, used pincers to peel away the blackened skin and apply the medication to her charred hands. I could hardly bear to watch, but my mother's facial expressions never betrayed the slightest tremor. The Osamu supports his children, even in their decisions towards entertainment, for he has seen it as educational merit. As he matured, Akira pursued painting with his brother Heigo, but worked in silent films, where he was a narrator and commentator. After failing to get into the school of his choice, Akira went to live with Heigo and got involved in the entertainment industry. When the Great Kanto earthquake occurred and decimated Tokyo, Heigo took it upon himself to show Akira the carnage. This would be an influence on his films yet years to come. Unfortunately, as the rise of sound films came around, Heigo's job slowly became obsolete. Unable to find his footing in the industry, Heigo committed suicide. Akira later entered filmmaking and learned from under the best, Kajiro Yamamoto. Under Kajiro's mentorship, Akira became proficient in his craft and was soon co-director of Horse in 1941 and Those Who Make Tomorrow in 1946, all on his own. As he was about to graduate from an apprenticeship to be a director, World War II began. It would be the start of a long and difficult decade. Japan had surrendered to China and drafted people for war, taking many filmmakers. Akira escaped the draft when a physician deemed him unfit for combat. The problem on the home front became a battle all on its own. You see, when Japan surrendered to the axe of power, they gave up all freedom of expression through a censorship system known as the National Mobilization Law. Its purpose was to shut off all offensive, controversial, and independent thought that would challenge the government. This law hit the media the hardest. They knew the media had a way of persuading people by showing them different and alternative views and opinions. Therefore, the government had a say of what is to be allowed and what is to be forbidden. The government wanted only propaganda content that would demonize the enemy, tell lies, and promote war. When Japan surrendered to the Allies, they fell under another form of censorship. Due to their involvement, the censorship was lifted after the war, and thus freed Japan from governmental control. A decade later, there was a treaty signed that would secure Japan's creative ability in the media. For Akira, he had mentioned how difficult filmmaking was under strict rules. Only a few of his films were allowed to be released. He had many films lined up for production, but it would not meet approval until he pitched Sanshiro Sagato about a young man searching to become a master of jiu-jitsu and ends up learning judo. Sagato was a propaganda movie, but it still was criticized for its British-American theme. With much persuasion, Yasujiro Ozu managed to help get the film off the ground. Even though approved by the government, they took out half of the film. When the war was over, only a small portion was returned. He was nervous at first and experimented with the styles. During his films, he was soon recognized for the use of leathers and warp transition. His films were met with praise, but it was barely insufficient to help him afford his bills. Under the censorship law, Akira would release 3 more films. The most beautiful, Sanshiro Sagato Part 2, and The Man Who Stepped on the Tiger's Tail. The latter movie was rejected due to Japan's surrender to the Allied forces. The film wouldn't be able to be released until 1952. Before the post-war era, he was married to Yoko Yakuji. She was a Japanese actress who grew fond of him. They had 2 children together, Hisao and Kazuko. As the war ended, Akira worked on a play called Talking, while working on his next film, free from government intervention. No regrets for the youth. Movie about an accusation made by the government against a professor, and immediately fired him from his job, which resulted in a strike. This was Akira's first controversial piece, and many more to come. Akira wasn't always good at dealing with pressure and harsh criticism. Akira referred to himself as a crybaby in some interviews, and quite jovially. Despite this, he was a man who had always worked hard to achieve his goals. On a lighter note, he has released One Wonderful Sunday in 1947, which is better received by the audience and critics. It was a feel-good film about a laborer named Yuzo and his fiancée Masako, spending their day off together with their small funds of money. The film won Best Screenplay and earned Akira his first set of awards. The success would bring many job offers for years to come. His era has begun. From 1947 to 1965, Akira has released about 17 films, many in the same year. He worked non-stop to produce movies and scripts. He has helped written scripts direct and edit them. Late in life, he passed the family business to his son Hisao, but never stopped creating. It is inspiring to see a man who has survived war and insane censorship and put these experiences and influences in his films. like what he did in Drunken Angel 1948. During the completion of this movie, his father, Osamu, was dying, unable to be at his side, either his death and funeral. Akira took it hard. He walked in the streets when he heard The Cuckoo Waltz by J. Johansen. He placed it in the film to magnify his feelings. I urge you to watch the movie and listen to the song, just as Matsunaga leaves his current boss after realizing his boss is playing him. His style is unique as it sets itself apart from Japanese films and others worldwide. The use of art, history, philosophy, and visual imagery that captivates his audience to this day. These styles and effects are used so well that many directors and creators would attempt to imitate.
A Kurosawa film moves like no one else's. Each one is a masterclass in different types of motion and also ways to combine them. Over a career spanning half a century, he made 30 films, and in all of them, the movement is surprising and cinematic. So, what types of movement did he like? First, there's the movement of nature. In every one of his films, the background of the shot features some kind of weather. Wind, water, fire, smoke, snow. One advantage of this approach is that shots have a lot of visual interest. Even when people are still, there's that rain in the background to draw your eye.
Rain is a real emotional trigger that works in any film. So anything that's excessive, because it gives you another layer that the audience can relate to sensually.
He used weather in his films to fit specific moods, in which his idol, John Ford, even commentated on it. When the Throne of Blood in 1957 was released, and a retelling of Shakespeare's Macbeth, about a samurai who received a prophecy that he would be emperor one day, he decided to quicken it by assassinating the emperor and usurp the throne. The film was about to be premiered in the Western countries, and Akira went to see one in London. During the visit, he has met John Ford. John Ford, which he highly respects, said, "You really like rain?" Akira replied with, "You've really seen my films." Ever since the pleasant experience, Akira copied John's style. It would later be his identifying outfit until the end of his era. Akira took advantage of the freedom to do what he wanted and lived in the entertainment industry. Most of these films had to be rewritten to free them of the censorship during the creation. His devotion and love to create movies of art as he pleases made an impression in the industry. Soon the world took notice of him when the film Rashomon was released nationally in a film festival in Italy. The film is about 4 interpretations of a man's murder and the rape of his wife. The film does an excellent job of keeping the different interpretations unique to the narrator. The movie Pulp Fiction in 1994 by Quentin Tarantino, where it seemed to have a similar spin. Watch the movie all the way through and see how the restaurant has changed in different anthologies. Then compare it to Rashomon. Then there would be some of his films that would be remade or have heavily influenced others, like Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, and George Lucas.
A friend of mine, John Milius, actually was a huge fan of Kurosawa's. And so whenever the film was showing, he'd say, "Oh, you gotta come and see this, you gotta come and see this." And after the first one, the first one I saw was Seven Samurai, and after that I was completely hooked. I said, this is really good. It's hard to really appreciate the true genius of Kurosawa, I think, until you've seen a few of the films, and then you've been able to see other films at the same time and be able to realize his visual style. My favorite of all time is really Seven Samurai. Then maybe Yojimbo, and then Kuro, and maybe Hidden Fortress at that. So it's not at the very top of my list, but I was impressed and I liked it.
The former Hidden Fortress in 1958 is a period piece about a princess and a general who must use the assistance of two peasants to cross enemy border to home. This film would later inspire George Lucas to create Star Wars. There are other films that influence many other creations, like Seven Samurai, another period piece about these warriors undergoing attacks to train the villagers to defend themselves. It would soon become The Magnificent Seven in 1960, later to become an anime adaptation of Samurai 7, and also a video game called Seven Samurai 20XX in 2004. Also Yojimbo, about a Ronin who infiltrated two criminal bosses and caused an internal conflict between the two. This film would influence the creation of A Fistful of Dollars, and in an anime adaptation of Yojimbo in 2002 as a tribute to Akira. Though many of his films have faced remakes, most of them have failed to capture the awe the originals have made. Of course, not all films are well liked. Perhaps some are despised. Many films in Akira's career have run into a unique pattern. Every once in a while, one of his films would not be positively received by the audience. It would cause some audience to doubt him. Then he would release another film, and they would vastly enjoy it. Take, for example, The Idiot, made in 1951, and Akira, made in 1952. The Idiot is one of Akira's personal favorites, and something that he was passionate about. However, it was poorly received. The film was about the childlike veteran, Kenji, who suffered from severe PTSD that sometimes caused him seizures, who falls in love with Tieko. However, another has fallen in love, Denkichi, and the result of violent conflict ensues. In contrast, Akira is about a man facing the final days of his life, where he decides to make the best of it. He reconnects with his children, met up with a former business partner, and built up a park for the children. It was a beautifully set film which showed Japan and the world that he was not done yet. Akira even won awards for the film. However, there was one film that marked an end to his era. After the release of Redbeard in 1965, a movie about a postgraduate student who was disappointed about his assignment in a small village, while his mentor trained him. The mentor would assign the student to take care of a prostitute. The film would mark an end of an era. Following the success, Akira was approached by two American directors who wanted cooperation of their films, Runaway Train in 1985 and Tora 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 in 1970, where his perfectionism in his films proved to be his fatal flaw. During the production of these films, while the American studios were reluctantly willing to be flexible, Akira wasn't. Akira proved to be a challenge to work with. It has gotten so bad that the collective disagreements have proved too much for him. Both films were forced to let him go, claiming he was mentally unfit. The hardest thing in filmmaking isn't the budget, the equipment, or who's on your team. It is dealing with fragile ego and collaborating with people you disagree with. Many of you story hunters that want to hunt down films, you will hunt with other hunters whom you don't like or you don't want to work with. It would require that you need to bite down your pride and work with them if you can. Sometimes it doesn't work, so you try to find a new team to work with. But the problem is, you run into the same problem. You see that everybody is going to be different. No one person is the same. You're gonna have to deal with the differences. It seems that many in the film industry have forgotten this. We We have seen this recently in 2019, as they deal with fans who show their disapproval of certain films. The single thought that they attempted to rebuke and shame the fans, or if they had fellow story hunters whom they disagree with on a political or religious reason, they are shunned and ostracized from the industry. It would appear that the same censorship that has plagued Japan during Akira's earlier career is almost upon us again, or could it be already here? We have seen people in the industry and even some of their fans crying out loud for the governmental censorship, much like the mobilization law. As a story hunter in the making, if you're a seasoned hunter, you need to speak up. You do have a voice, and this platform in the film industry is your voice. If they don't let you, you either have to force your way on or find another way in. Story hunters, listen, you are creative beasts with fangs and claws. It would be best if you use them to stand up to anyone who wants to censor you, to put you down or silence you due to your different opinions or your styles. Use judgment and wisdom, however. They may want to quiet you, but you have to keep pushing. You have to keep trying, you have to keep working. And you'll find out that you're still here. And like Akira, you are not done yet. You have a heart for telling stories, participating in filmmaking, and you want your voice to be heard. Much like Akira, who has seen the worst of human nature, you can learn from his experience. Many of this den still prejudice and bigotry. They lived and have succeeded, and you can too. In the last years of Akira's life, he had a change of heart and been reawakened. Just like any person in a story, they would need to overcome their fatal flaws to succeed. Whether or not he learned from his mistakes, we do not know. But it would appear that he did learn something. Shortly after his return in 1980, Kagemusha, about an imposter, inherits the throne of Shinjin. But is soon confronted with a dilemma when it came to war. It was soon followed by Ron in 1985, Shakespeare's King Lear, about an emperor who divides his kingdom amongst his 3 sons, leaving the eldest to be the main leader. However, when one of his sons disobeyed the eldest's command, he was banished. Both of these films were academically received and won many awards, even in America. Kagemusha required a high budget, but fortunately, George Lucas used his Star Wars earnings and connections with Fox, who fired him from Toro, helped to promote his film. Even through this, it has met controversy through disgruntled ex-employees, news and media, trying to make it hard for him to succeed, and the overall pressure for the film presents. This film was a do-or-die project. If it flops, it would be the end of his career. Fortunately, it wasn't, and paved the way for Ron. You see, during your time hunting down films, there will be a few that you'll be passionate about, and one that is considered as your prize. In 1990, Dreams would be regarded as one of those to Akira. This film contains a collection of Akira's paintings to illustrate a Van Gogh experience. The film is an anthology that captures the fantasy and the magical beauty the world has to offer. It was a small budget film, but Japan studios would not invest in it. Therefore, Akira pitched his films elsewhere, and Steven Spielberg picked it up and invested in it. Years later, Spielberg has this to say about Akira as a tribute to him.
I am very grateful for the time I was able to work with Kurosawa, and I'm happy being a part of celebrating him tonight. Let me congratulate Anaheim University for launching the Akira Kurosawa School of Film so that more students around the world can be inspired, as I was, by this great director. The time I spent with Kurosawa has been reflected in my own work as all the time I spent with Kurosawa's films have done so much to inspire me to be a better filmmaker. He was a true visionary, not just for Japanese cineasts, but for film lovers and students all over the entire world. He had an amazing, amazing body of work that continues today to inspire all of us. So thank you. Have a very happy birthday. Hope to see you on his 100th.
The school he mentioned is open for any story hunters who would like to learn from the methods of the master, Akira Kurosawa. And perhaps you too can take inspirations, as had other filmmakers before. Akira Kurosawa would not be forgotten, nor will he ever be. He has shaped the entertainment industry and many minds, though many seek to change it into their narcissism ways. It is up to you as story hunters to remind people that the entertainment industry is for everyone. Just as freely as Akira spoke his mind, despite the many backlashes and many controversies some of his films caused, especially with Rhapsody in August 1991, where it takes on an in-depth look on a Nagasaki survivor who holds resentment against America when she received word that her brother is about to die in Hawaii. She is reluctant on going, calling upon her nephew Clark to come and bring her. The film was accused of being an anti-American slander. He spoke, but he still spoke his mind through his arts, his words, and influence. In many of his movies, he would create them to show the world's ugliness. But under the film is something beautiful to behold. His career and life to meet a tragic end when he suffered from a broken spine. Upon finishing the final script, The Sea is Watching, which would be released years after his death in 2002. And his last film, Metadeo, was a particular piece where it contains his final words to his audience and fans. The film is about a professor who retires from his career to pursue writing, where he met with students who thanked him and how they said their farewells. The film served as Akira's final words to his fans, and everyone stood by his side to the end. He was shown that he was not done yet, and that his legacy would live on. So live on it will. To show how much they admired him and all his work, many people made tributes to his honor, including this very tour. The final films he has written was released After the Rain and Dora Haiti in 2000. The Sea is Watching 2 years later. There were tributes made in his honor and devotion. They thanked him for all he did. There are 2 more films left to be made in his collection: documentary on No Theater and The Mask of the Black Death. The No documentary hasn't been updated since, but The Mask of the Black Death was. The script was picked up by the studios in China, by Brothers Media and CFK Pictures, and said that the film would be made in 2020. With our 80 hours in this presentation, it needs correcting. Let us know if you have any films or stories you'd like us to review, especially if it is of your making. Send us a request. If you haven't joined the pack, please do so. There's a lot more to discover. And be ready to hunt when you hear our howl. As we end this session of Akira Kurosawa, on behalf of the Storyhunter pack, we'd like to thank you too. Thank you, Akira, for your films and stories and all you have taught us. Thank you for making us laugh, cry, breathe, and be a part of our life. To honor and farewell, may his spirit and influence pass through us all. Sayonara Kurosawa Akira-san. Arigato zamashita. Anata wei was short. Ray Ray Nada show.